This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. We focus today on the Model Y. So we've had a chance to, sit in it, etc. And we have kind of our review of it right now. The first in what will be a several. And we look forward to sort of breaking the vehicle down in a number of ways that I think you'll find useful. Behind me is the Model Y introduction show that Elon did in March of last year, and the fact that they've gotten the vehicle out this quickly is kudos to both Tesla and Elon and the Tesla team for getting the job done. So we want to first take time to thank our Patreon supporters as well as our subscribers. Your support is greatly appreciated. I also wanted to note that we do have a number of access to information as well as additional shows, as well as even trading positions that are available if you're a Patreon supporter. So it might be something to consider if you'd like an enhanced exposure to the resources that our show offers. So we turn our attention today to the Model Y. There's been a lot said about it, including, I guess, the most important comment perhaps is when Elon pointed out that he felt that it would be the #1 vehicle in the lineup and would outsell everything else. So we're kind of expecting that, and it was kind of interesting interacting with the vehicle because there are so many expectations that are built into the conversation that the vehicle represents. So I wanted to cover a list of items that sort of illuminate the vehicle better because we're not going to get a teardown of it for a while. Currently, as you know, what Tesla has done is their usual process, which is they've decided to introduce the Model Y in the dual motor version for $60,000 base, as well as the performance version at $67,000. Now, I was a bit surprised. Well, they usually enter with the higher line models first, and then they introduced the lower cost models. Typically, 60% of the vehicles purchased are the lowest line models with upgrades. And so they've indicated that they're now moving forward with collecting firm orders from those who've reserved for the $50,000 version of the vehicle. Now, the question is, well, why did Elon predict that this vehicle would outsell everything else combined? And there's something called the 59% rule in the auto business. And basically what that is that 59% of the vehicles sold are SUVs. So as you've noticed, we've gone from very large SUVs to mid-size to very small. And a lot of it relates to this rule. There are many elements to why the rule exists, but the biggest one is the cost of real estate. In sort of non-dense parts of the country, owning more than one car is common, but as real estate prices rise, that's why you have homes being built on 2 levels. And then the next piece of it is you have the number of garage slots declining. So that means that any vehicle in the garage has to be able to handle multiple functions, hence the growth in SUVs, hence the growth in why the Model Y is such an important vehicle. The next thing that comes up, so that's the 59% rule that we chose as the title of the show. Now, I was intrigued. The thumbnail we're choosing for this show is actually a picture of the trunk area. So, everyone wants to take a picture of the front of the car or the side of the car or et cetera, et cetera. But there are certain functionalities that really drive why people have chosen SUVs. One select group that I've watched a lot that really defines this vehicle is moms with small children. When you have a vehicle that's elevated in the form that the Model 3 is, it sits 6.3 inches off the ground with the 20-inch rims and tires. There are things like you can get groceries out of the back of the vehicle without having to stoop down to reach down into the trunk of a Model 3 or a Model X. You can also do things like drop the back and possibly sleep back there if you chose to be in a camping situation much more easily than the models, any of the other models other than the Model X, of course. Another feature, so sort of common features that make it worthwhile. I've watched a few moms who had to get child seats in the back of a Model 3, and the headroom there is rather short. So it was a bit of a struggle for the mom I watched to both get all of the items needed to be carried around with a child into the vehicle, in addition to the one, maybe two children in child seats. And this car makes it very easy. But all these functionalities are not very cool to look at in terms of cool nose hoods and so forth, but they illustrate why people look at the cool cars and enjoy viewing them that might be sports cars, etc., but they don't buy them. And so the Model Y represents, I think, an excellent sort of implementation of this dialogue. The next thing that we kind of picked up, so I've been reviewing cars for about 30 years. I think the Model Y is, I think it's functional and it fits what people need, but I would say that it's not in the category of super duper. So sort of the next category that I wanted to cover about the Model Y is what I want to call de-Model Xing the Model Y. So one of the problems Tesla is having with the vehicle is if the features of the Model Y supersede or equal the Model X, you pretty much have zero sales of the Model X. A lot of people do not want to deal with the gull-wing doors. And so what we're really targeting here is sort of figuring out, why would you buy this car versus the Model X or a lot of your other options? So Tesla is doing a little dance where, they've got 315 miles of range for the dual motor. The $50,000 version is likely to be in the 260s or 270s in terms of range. But I think I'm 6'3" and a little bit of back issues. And I think the most important feature of the vehicle is the fact that if you're a tall person and you're big, you can get in this thing without having to stoop down to get in or out. And you still have great performance and other attributes of a very quick sports car that electric vehicles represents. So we're in a very interesting position because Tesla has to take out enough features to not totally destroy the Model X, but have enough features where people are saying, I'm spending $50,000 or $60,000 for the car, I at least want a certain set of core capabilities that one can get in other vehicle. Now, speaking of this, a very interesting problem popped up. When I went to see the car for the first time at our local dealership, there was a couple there where the husband has two Model 3s, and he drives one during the week, one during the weekend, and the wife has a Model, an X5 from BMW that she doesn't want to give up. And what she explained was the main reason was that she noticed the fact that in the case of the Model Y, the clearance or the clearance from the ground is only 6.3 inches, whereas her Model X gets her 8.3 inches, which means she can see over both regular sedans and a lot of SUVs. And she really enjoys those sight lines she gets and was therefore unwilling to give up her X5. So I thought this was a very interesting sort of circumstance. And the reason is that it turns out one of the things I didn't think of, and obviously the salesperson didn't think of while we were there, is the fact that if, for example, this car comes on 20-inch rims with 20-inch tires, you have leeway. You can actually put a 21-inch tire or a 19-inch tire on that. As the width of the tire declines, the height of the sidewalls rises, therefore elevating the size of the car without any impact on the performance and other attributes of the vehicle. So in theory, this customer could have put 19s on the vehicle in terms of rubber and had those an extra inch added. So instead of 6.3, you now have 7.3 inch elevation. And I guess if she wanted to really get severe with it, she could swap out the rims and go to an 18-inch rim. And with an 18-inch tire, you now get 2 extra inches of height driven by the height of the tires without having to do anything with the suspension, etc. So if this is somewhat of an issue that might play into your thought process, I just wanted to mention that to you as something to consider. Another feature of the Model 3 that we didn't get, a Model Y we didn't see, but is noteworthy is there's a lot of really cool things that have been done to improve production process for the vehicle that we didn't get to see, but we're looking forward to San Miro or someone else tearing the vehicle down so we can see that. I really find that the Model Y fight is between an X and a Y is very interesting, because there's one feature that I just think on the Model X is unbelievable, but it represents something they can't bring to the Model Y, but I'd love to see, which is different height elevations. So I think the coolest feature of the vehicle is you can press a button, walk up to it, have it at its maximum height, so when you get in, you don't have to stoop down. You can just slide right into the car almost without bending your knees, and then the car will lower itself to the driving position that's optimal. And I just think that that's an unbelievably great feature that's really helpful for taller people like myself. And my plan is to get the Model Y at the low end, but that's not going to be there, but you can still have your fantasy that at some point you'll be able to get that feature. The final note that of our first round of reviewing the Model Y is just the fact that in our minds, there's something very strange about the Model 3 and the Model Y now sort of being sort of an offshoot of it. When I first reviewed the Model 3, even before it arrived, I really felt that it would be better to get a used Model S than to get the Model 3. And I was very surprised to get an opportunity to be and drive in the Model 3, because all of a sudden I realized that having the car is actually smaller, and having a smaller vehicle allows you to do things like you can get your car into a parking space in a large garage easier without having to find a dead center so you don't get dings on your door. It makes it easier when you're having to turn in terms of judging distances. There are all these little things that less car allows you to do. And so while the Model Y is less of a car than the Model X in a lot of features, etc., it's my belief that the less size to work with makes it a more comfortable vehicle for anybody that has to drive it. And so I just think that, I can see why he anticipated this thing selling great. And I think it's an excellent vehicle, and I think it'll do extremely well for a large number of reasons. We're going to get some more video of it and probably have maybe a Model Y show a week as we work through different aspects that we discover and understand. In fact, this week we're headed to California for a brief SpaceX trip, and while there, we're actually going to be taking some time to spend some time in a performance Y, and we look forward to providing you some video of it as well as some general impressions from the owner to sort of add to the general Model Y sensibilities. So we look forward to doing this, in the future, and we look forward to your input. And if you're an owner, we'd also look forward to, your leaving notes, etc., as to your thoughts on the vehicle. At any rate, I want to thank you for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Please remember, on our health tips list, no more than once a week for fried foods, try the 5-2 diet or something in that realm to consider better mental health functions, 25 legless a day per leg to ensure your knees are strengthened so that you don't need operations. Also wanted to maintain SPF 30 or better, avoiding skin cancer. And finally, perhaps once or twice a week weightlifting to help build bone density. We look forward to getting a chance to review the performance and getting your impressions as we move around in it. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, Max. Oh, German, au revoir, French, Lichtrohot, Hebrew, hey do, Swedish, Zdravstvuyte, Russian, hello, Ni hao ma, hello, Chinese. I've already said Khoda Hafez, I think it's cool. Farsi, God be with you. In Jamaica, we say enough respect, walk good man. Thanks once again for joining us, and we look forward to our next opportunity. Please remember to like and subscribe. We've got some great stuff for you if you choose to join us on Patreon. And have a great day. Bye for now. We look forward to your comments.